like to introduce someone who was very instrumental in putting our band, the Eagles, together, and also our favorite girl singer. Would you welcome Linda Ronstadt?
We never expected to say this, especially not now. Picture this. The year is 1979. The Troubadour in Los Angeles is alive with energy. Guitars wail through sound checks, legends swap stories in the hallway, and the spotlight is just about to hit. But suddenly, silence. Linda Ronstadt storms out. No warning, no words. Just a cold, quiet exit. The reason? A single name on the lineup. For decades, fans guessed, friends whispered. But Linda? She said nothing. No interviews, no drama. Just decades of silence and grace. Until now. At 78, Linda Ronstadt has finally broken her silence. Not in anger, but in truth. She's naming the 7 musicians who hurt her most. Some in public, others behind closed doors. Some she once called friends, others legends. And the names? They'll shock you. 1.
You were traveling, correct me if I'm wrong, at one point mostly with males. What was that like? How did you handle that?
Well, I swore a lot. I started swearing a lot. I was very happy when I could finally afford to hire some woman to go with me, to help me sort of pack and unpack and put on makeup and do girl things.
The drummer who forgot who gave him a stage. Don Henley. Before the Eagles soared, Don Henley was just Linda's drummer, quiet, grateful, in her shadow. She gave him his first big break, but as fame found him, humility vanished. Henley, once a backup, now strutted like a king. And in 1975, the worst moment came. Backstage, he mocked her style, said she should stick to covers. Linda didn't shout. She revoked his credentials. 2. The wild frontman who turned a party into a nightmare. Jim Morrison. It was 1968. Linda was clawing her way up. Morrison was already a fireball of chaos. At a private party, Morrison, drunk, unfiltered, dragged Linda on stage, tried to kiss her mid-performance, then stumbled into her mic stand. The crowd froze. He never apologized. Later mocked her on the radio. She never forgot it.
There weren't that many women, correct me if I'm wrong, who were performing at or near the top with some of the greatest names in rock music. What was that like?
Well, we were confused a lot. I think we had strange, we didn't know whether we were supposed to be domestic and nurturing and at home sewing and cooking and taking care of our men, and minding babies, or whether we were supposed to be independent and out there running around, redefining the universe. It was complicated. And to add to that, Rolling Stone, in its infinite wisdom, had declared that, funk was God at some point. And everybody was chasing funk. So I dressed myself up like Moonbeam McSwine, and I got in a pen with pigs, and I had my picture taken for my album cover, because I was just trying to make fun of that, I thought, if you can't get funkier, than sitting in a pig pen.
3. The activist who didn't practice what he preached. Neil Young. A benefit concert for farm workers. The cause Linda believed in. Backstage, Neil dismissed her ideas, blocked her from songs, and called her sound too commercial. Then, to the press, he said she wasn't built for protest. She left in tears, never shared a stage with him again.
That's what I am. I don't like the idea of having to be a cultural determinant, or, a cultural hero or a role model or anything like that. I don't want it to be the absolute last word in what the trendy style is. But I just want to sing. That's all I ever wanted to do.
4. When genius turned into cruelty. Frank Zappa. A 1974 studio session full of promise collapsed in hours. Zappa dismissed her input, mocked her voice, and in front of everyone sneered, "This is what happens when you hand real music to a pop singer." She left, never came back, never spoke of him again.
Would you like to still pursue acting?
All my life I wanted to sing more than anything I can ever think of. I just want to sing. I mean, acting can be a part of that, an extension of that. I'm very interested in musical theater, and it involves acting, so I think that there is a lot of acting, but it's a function of the singing for me. I'm not particularly interested in amputating the music part from it.
5. Laurel Canyon's coldest fallout. David Crosby. Once like musical family. But during a 1978 session, Linda requested a key change. Crosby refused, dismissed her. Days later, he mocked her in Rolling Stone, calling her manufactured. She didn't answer. She erased him. No mentions, no music, no presence on her tours, ever again. 6th punk's most public insult. Elvis Costello. Linda was headlining. Costello, drunk and cocky, called her set background music for brunch. Backstage, she confronted him. He insulted her again and walked off. To Linda, he wasn't edgy. He was empty. 7. The legend who tried to control her voice. Paul Simon. A dream duet in 1982 turned nightmare. In studio, Simon rewrote lyrics, interrupted her takes, and nitpicked her delivery. She said it felt like being scolded by a principal. The project was scrapped. The collaboration, dead. She never entered a studio with him again. Breaking the silence isn't about revenge. Why now? Why break decades of silence? Because Linda Ronstadt didn't build her legacy on gossip.
When you decided to go in this direction, was there someone around you, an agent, perhaps someone in your family who said, listen, don't do this. This is a bad career move.
My manager said, what are you talking about? I told my record company, and this was after I'd already done the Nelson Riddle stuff with the Standards, and they were sure I just completely lost my mind. And I said, please let me do this. I've sold so many records for you. Let me just have this as a self-indulgence, if nothing else. But I'm just determined to do this, and this is what I'm going to do.
She built it on grit, on grace, on surviving betrayal after betrayal in an industry that rarely makes space for women to speak, much less fight back. This isn't bitterness, it's truth. And sometimes the strongest thing a woman can do is not sing, but finally speak. Which of these feuds shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories behind the music.